I live in beautiful Thailand, and every week I travel to Singapore to work for half a day. And that 4 or 5 hours in Singapore is enough for me to pay all my expenses in Thailand. My rent, my grocery bills, my medical bills, everything. So in this video, I will share with you how am I doing this, the visas that are available, and how realistic and tiring it really is to travel between Singapore and Thailand every week. Before flying, I like to wake up early and use this amazing gym at my condo. So it's 7 AM right now. I'm gonna get coffee before heading to the airport. I usually come to this nearby cafe because the prices are affordable here. And it also has a free co-working space. So I'm at the Chiang Mai airport right now, and usually if I buy my tickets in advance, it costs about $200 return to Singapore and back here. So one of the downsides of living here in Chiang Mai is the limited number of flights. Because this is a small city, there's only one flight that flies to Singapore every day. If I were living in Bangkok, there definitely will be more flights and they will be cheaper too. I then do some work on the flight to save some time when I'm in Singapore. One downside of this life is rushing and not having the time to eat, so I usually eat whatever the flight is selling. And just like that, I'm back here in Singapore. It's so good to be back here because this airport is truly the best. It took me just 20 minutes and I'm already out and I'm ready to head to the city. Most airports are actually slow and they make you wait. But because Singapore actually understands the importance of first impressions, they try their best to make your first impression of the airport as smooth and as efficient as possible. Okay, finally you now get to find out what type of work I actually have here in Singapore. So I teach here as a part-time lecturer in NUS, one of the best universities not just in Singapore but around the world. I'm really lucky to get this part-time job because one, it's a really nice feeling to be able to teach the future generation and to impact their future. And two, as a part-time employee, I only need to work 3 hours a week. If you include marking and some other admin stuff, a total of 4 to 5 hours a week. So the final absolute amount of my part-time job is not as high as a full-time job, but on a per hourly rate, it's actually much higher. So my biggest tip for you if you're also thinking of living in a low-cost country like Thailand, but still have a high-paying job from Singapore, is to find a way to command a high per hourly rate. This means being paid a very high amount for every hour that you have to work. For me personally, my per hourly rate of working is at least $500. So when I set such a high per hourly rate, it actually gives me two benefits. The first benefit is that I get to work lesser hours and I still get to cover all my expenses in Thailand. The second benefit is that now that I know how much each hour of my time is worth, I'm much more protective of my time. For example, I sometimes get requests from companies to be a consultant or to be a corporate speaker, and I now know that I won't accept any job that doesn't pay me more than $500 an hour, and to decline all unnecessary projects, and now I have more time to spend with my wife and friends in Thailand. So of course, everybody wants to command a high per hourly rate. But how do you actually do it? The answer is to build up your expertise in your field so that you become recognized as a subject matter expert. In my case, I spent the first 7 years of my career improving my skills in sales and marketing, and eventually I actually got a job in Google. Then when in Google, I continued to work on my expertise, and eventually I got this opportunity to teach here at this university. So as much as I want to tell you that it was easy finding jobs with a high per hourly rate and that there's some shortcuts in terms of finding good remote jobs, it actually took me a few years to plan and to have my life right now. But it is never too late for you to get started, to become an expert in your industry, and to command a higher pay. So after my work, I come to this house which belongs to a very close friend. Because I now live in Thailand, I no longer rent a place here in Singapore or live with my family. So my friend is kind enough to let me use his spare room to do some work or even stay the night. So there's a few things for you to consider if you also want to live in Thailand but work here in Singapore. The first is visa. It's called Destination Thailand Visa, and it's basically their version of a digital nomad visa. It's a 5 years visa with 180 days permit. That means that you can stay in Thailand up to 180 days each time before you need to leave the country and come back, and you get to stay for another 180 days. And you get to keep doing that up to 5 years. So this is actually suitable for people in Singapore because you're likely to come back at least once every 180 days. And the best part is that it only costs 500 Singapore dollars to apply, and you only need to show that you have 500,000 Thai Baht, which is about 20,000 Singapore dollars in your bank account. And lastly, you need to show some kind of proof that you actually work remotely. Now, I've spoken to other expats who already have this visa, and they shared that you actually don't even need a remote job from a big international company. Of course, it will help if you work for a well-known international company, but these expats also shared with me that it's possible for you to own your own business and show that you work online. So some screenshot of your website, your portfolio of customers, and some kind of proof of payment and interaction with them. The other thing that I needed to be mindful of while working here in Singapore and living in Thailand is to continue paying my CPF and my income tax here in Singapore. I believe I don't need to explain too much of this, but you can't run away from paying your fair share to the government and for your own retirement. So I've just spent last night at my friend's place because, like I said, there's not a lot of flights between Chiang Mai and Singapore, and now I'm heading back to the airport. And in some sense, what I'm doing is not actually new. It's common for you to see people living in JB, which is the nearest city from Malaysia to Singapore, and they come here in the morning, work, and go back to JB at night. These people do it for a similar reason, which is to enjoy a lower cost of living and to earn a higher pay. But the exciting thing now is that because of remote working, you're no longer limited to jobs that require you to be in Singapore all the time. It's not easy to get them though, and like I said, it took me a few years to plan and prepare for this. The other question that I often get is that, is it actually tired to be traveling between Singapore and Thailand every week? And to be honest, it sometimes is, because I really underestimated the time required to travel between these two countries. Initially, I thought, hey, the flight between Singapore and Thailand is like 2 to 3 hours. But after factoring the time to actually come to the airport to check in, the whole journey actually takes me about 6 to 7 hours, sometimes even 8 hours door to door. And while it's really tiring, I get to spend the rest of the week, so about 5 days in Thailand, and my life now is much more peaceful and contented. And moving forward, if I ever find this too tiring, I can always move to Bangkok, where there's more flights to Singapore, and because my lease here in Chiang Mai is just on a monthly basis, I have the flexibility of moving around pretty easily. Overall, I'm really happy with my life decision, and as the future of work continues to evolve and hybrid work and remote work becomes more common, I believe we really can get the best of both worlds. We work in a high-paying city and appreciate life in a low-cost one. And if you want to know how chill and affordable my life now is in Thailand, please check out this video where I share with you how much I actually spend in Thailand. I'm heading for my flight right now, so till next time, I hope you find your version of happiness too.